Ministries.
5:30 p.m. and it's family time.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Love 101 FM. Whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, this is Family Time. Family Time is about your issues and your relationships, whether it is your family abroad or abroad. Now, Family Time is produced by the Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to a healthy nation. So please stay tuned via all our social media platforms. Friend us on Facebook at FLM-Family Life Ministries, or be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries-FLM-JA, and on Instagram. Keep up with all that's happening at simply FLM-JA. Now, I am your host for this evening, Tamika Scott Walters. Now, today's topic is about vaccines. Sounds familiar, right? Especially with back to school. Now, vaccines have protected generations from deadly disease for years. Yet, so many persons still have questions, fears, and doubts. So, in today's episode, we will sit down with Caribbean medical experts to unpack what vaccination and immunization really is, how do vaccines work, and why they remain one of the most powerful tools in modern medicine. Now, from babies to the older persons, whether it is for school or for the workplace, we will discuss how vaccines help to protect our communities, especially in Jamaica and, of course, the wider Caribbean, where misinformation or fake news, as we call it, can sometimes spread faster than these illnesses. So, join us today as we examine the truth about immunization. I am sure you have questions already, and if not, I know you'll think of some. So we want to be sure to get those questions answered. And we also want you to answer a question for us. Today's question is, are you fully immunized? Are you fully immunized? Why or why not? We want you to send us your responses via WhatsApp text or voice notes, and please to keep them 30 seconds or less. You can send to 876-997-3125, or you can give us a call on our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. Now, we want you to watch and comment live on Love 101's Facebook page and also on our YouTube page, and get your questions ready for our special guest today. We are heading for a break, and guess what? We'll be back soon.
This summer, we're turning up the love across Jamaica. It's the Double the Love Summer Tour with Love 101.
Everything a double.
Join us in 5 parishes for live broadcast of the Gospel Train and Youth Connection, plus community cook-offs, family sports, games, and good vibes. From Portmore to St. Thomas, Manchester, Mobile, and Kingston.
I'm about to have a good day.
We're spreading faith, fun, and fellowship island-wide. And it all ends with a big back-to-school grand finale in Kingston. The Double the Love Summer Tour, powered by Love 101, the family station. Don't you miss it.
Welcome back, everyone. It is family time on Love 101. And very special welcome to our guest today. We have Dr. Jeremiah Augustus, who is the Senior House Officer of the University Hospital of the West Indies, Cardiothoracic Surgery and Infection Prevention Control. And we also have joining us Dr. Natoya Langley, who is a registered nurse and the Director of Staff Development and Training at Western State Hospital in the United States. Today I have two docs, so I say Doc Jeremiah and Dr. Natoya. How are you both doing today?
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
All right. I am happy to have you join, and I know our listeners are too. For us in the Caribbean, it is that special time back to school. And so, guess what? Many persons are thinking of getting medicals done, and perhaps that's when we'll review the immunization cards to see where we are at. So, to all our listeners, remember we want to ask, are you fully immunized? Why or why not? We invite you to share those responses via WhatsApp text or voice note. Remember, keep them 30 seconds or less, and you can send to 876 997 3125 or give us a call on our studio lines at 876 997 3125 to participate. Now, we are heading into the topic, the truth about immunization. That's our topic for today. Vaccines protect our bodies from serious disease, but exactly how do they work? So let's start with the basics. So, Dr. Jeremiah, I'm afraid of injections. So let me just declare that off the bats. And I
That's a
haven't
lot.
discovered a vaccination yet that is like a spray or a cream. So it involves getting an injection. When someone gets a vaccination, what is really happening inside the body?
So first, to clear that up, there is an oral polio vaccine where you could get a drop in your mouth, actually. All right, so there is an oral polio vaccine. But what vaccines are generally are vaccines are a safe versions naturally of germs, and it's like we are cheating on an exam. We are giving the body a look into what the real virus looks like, and then the body then goes back with its peers and talk to each other, develop some antibodies that protects us. When the real virus do step in, we already knew what it looked like. We already knew what it's going to do. So we have this somewhat, a template how to ramp up the antibodies quickly, and the patient or the person doesn't become very ill. And the forms that we normally give them, it could be like part of the virus, or it could be a weakened form of the virus, or something of that nature, so that the body has an idea as to what to expect when the real virus do come. Right?
All right, thank you. So I think I'm making some notes. So the vaccines are like a part or a form of a virus. And what happens is we introduce it to the body so that the body recognizes it,
Correct.
understands it, identifies it, so that it can fight.
Sure.
So, my question to you now, Dr. Natoya, is after all of that, why do some vaccines require more dose than one?
Uh, Sometimes what we need is a booster. So the body, as Dr. Jeremiah said earlier, we introduce something to the body, right? So what we do, we need more of that, so it strengthens the bodyguard, to strengthen the soldiers to fight off, to ward off these diseases, these viruses and bacteria. And so the body might require a little more. We call them booster. So, for example, I got the COVID-19 vaccine, but I had to get a booster to ward it off because, things get stronger over time. And so we need a little more to ward those off.
Okay, so in this case, would it be because the first vaccine doesn't really work, or is it because there are changes maybe to the illness or what the vaccination is for?
Certainly, some germs are tricky.
and need several rounds of training for our immune system to build, to be stronger and have this lasting defense. So that is why you need more, because these diseases sometimes they're very tricky.
All right, thank you, Doc. So, Dr. Jeremiah,
Mhm.
Dr. Natoya just gave me my vaccine, and guess what? Now I think I am feeling sick. How do you explain that to someone who thinks that, the vaccine is meant to help me, but here I am. Does it really help? I think I may be getting sick. How do you explain it?
So, as I said before, the vaccine could be a form, a weakened form of the virus, or it could be a part of the virus. However, some vaccines have different side effects, and this is primarily based on the fact, well, and depending on what type of vaccine that you get. For example, if you have a attenuated vaccine, for example, it's a weakened form, it's going to mount a response from the body. The body's still going to probably get a little fever, a little sore, but nothing that you would get that if you really got the virus. And what it's doing is the body's developing that immunity in preparation for when that real virus comes. And anything that you introduce foreign into the body normally gives you that initial fight that the body would do, and that sometimes brings an inflammatory reaction. And that is what you're getting there. So that initial feeling that you get shouldn't last more than a day sometime two. And a little Panadol normally takes care of that. And the body is just getting, preparing itself, really. That's what that little sickness, that bout of sickness is really.
Okay, Doc. So I know this is where our listeners are really tuning in, and I hear
Hmm.
them saying and sharing their various stories. So, Doc, you're
Yes,
saying it's not really the vaccine that is getting me sick, it's the process that perhaps the virus was introduced. So, maybe some of those symptoms I may
correct.
be experiencing, and the body's working through it, right?
Correct.
All right. Now, Doc, keeping that in mind,
Hmm.
I want to now ask, I think I'm grown enough. Well, depends on who you ask. My parents will maybe they'll say no. But in my estimation, I'm grown, I'm an adult. Why, in God's name, do adults still have to be vaccinated? Shouldn't that just be something for babies or for kids going back to school?
No.
Definitely not. And I'm going to talk to our grown females,
Yeah.
right? One of the vaccines that I often try to talk about is the HPV vaccine. I've seen a lot of young women naturally who develops cervical cancer. And one of the ways to prevent it, one of the most studied cause of cervical cancer is HPV and the different variants that they have. And a simple vaccine could help prevent that. And that is not something that we see in young children. That's something that we see in grown adults, amongst other things. When you get older, above 65, the pneumococcal vaccine that causes certain pneumonias that takes out our elderly is also one. That's not that all it could happen in the in the young. It's one that targets our elderly population. And then every year we get a flu, and every year that we know, and then we had COVID. So every time we also develop, there's new infections on the rise nearly every year. And one thing that I would have to mention that Dr. Langley had mentioned is that sometimes we need to boost our immunity. For example, in our tetanus shot, every 10 years or so, depending on our exposure, we need our tetanus shot to ensure that we don't develop any tetanus after any infection, exposure, really. So those are some things we need to sometimes boost our immunity, get our immunity to remind the body, hey, don't forget, there's this particular thing that could happen to you every ever so often. All right.
All right. Well, guess what, Doc? We have one of our listeners, and there is a voice note from them. So I'm gonna ask
So
the studio. Let us hear from Melissa Wisdom.
Listening. Why is it we are using humans to try vaccines now instead of animals? In my young age, I know they used to use like animals. They try it first and then give it to humans. So what caused the changes and why?
all
Hmm,
right.
Doc,
Thank you
that's
so
for
much for
you.
that. Thank you so much for that question. That's partially correct in terms of we still do use animals, right? So when we have a new vaccine or even new drugs rather that we use every day, before we could test that in human subject, ethics would not allow that. So we have certain things like guinea pigs and certain rats that are grown in a particular environment, that are given particular conditions to mimic as close as possible to humans, and then we look and see how it occurs in those animal subjects. Once it has gone through rounds of testing and scientific evidence to support that it is now safe to try human subjects, we then start to introduce it into human subjects with close monitoring, something, and we have to do double-blinded clinical trials and these high-level statistical tests and statistical methods to ensure that we are not being biased. So vaccines still do start in the animals, and then it graduates to human subjects once it is proven to be safe for that. And what governs that is our ethics. So there's a lot of different pillars in ethics that governs how we introduce certain things. And yes, we want to make people's life better. We want to have vaccines to protect, but we can't do that very carelessly, because then it would just defeat the entire purpose of trying to protect human beings.
All right, thank you so much for that, Doc. On that note, we are going to go to a break. We want our listeners to remember our feedback question for today. Are you fully vaccinated? Are you fully immunized? Why or why not? We are looking forward to your response. Keep them 30 seconds or less. Send via WhatsApp or give us a call on our studio lines at 876 997 3125. Now, we also want you to watch, comment live on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page. And just so you know, the numbers for the Family Life Ministries head office in Kingston are 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Stick around for more insights and advice. We'll be back after the break.
The time by Grace Could Move is
5:47.
The following is paid for by the People's National Party.
The people of Jamaica are clamoring for change. This manifesto is our plan for a new chapter.
Our manifesto speaks to justice for all. At the very top of our agenda will be constitutional reform.
There will be a comprehensive review of how we fund the Ministry of Health.
We will invest in the creative industry, establishing a $1 billion creative economy fund.
Like a Higgler in St. Elizabeth, toys and carries our goods to Kingston better. Must come.
For the young homeowners, a $500,000 grant. We will modernize our public institutions and rebuild trust in government. The People's National Party is ready for the mission ahead.
So, comrades, the word is love.
The word is love. Let us take this journey together.
The proceeding was paid for by the People's National Party.
At Professional Eye Care, luxury isn't just a look, it's a lifestyle. Step into sophistication with designer frames from Tom Ford, Prada, Gucci, Tory Burch, and more. Timeless styles crafted to turn heads. And for the tech-savvy trendsetters, experience the future with Ray-Ban Meta Smart Glasses, where fashion meets innovation. Whether you're upgrading your image, enhancing your comfort, or embracing the latest eyewear technology, Professional Eye Care has the perfect fit for you. Visit our locations in Santa Cruz, Mandeville, Rose Hall, Bay West Montego Bay, and Savlamar. Professional Eye Care. See the world in style.
Attention registered voters! Remember to collect your renewed voter ID card before the upcoming general election. If you registered to vote in 2016 or after and did not get your new ID card, it may have been automatically renewed. Simply visit your EOJ constituency office to collect your voter ID card. Contact the Electoral Office of Jamaica at 888-991-VOTE or 922-0425-9 for more information.
We've seen a lot of our customers make some good moves over the years. Whether it's sharing a hug with a friend you haven't seen in a long time or sharing a meal, Grace has been there. So let's keep making these moments together, because rest assured, every time you choose Grace, you know you're making a good move.
Always a good move when you're moving with grace. The following is paid for by the People's National Party.
Judith, you know, say me like the plans of the PMP after this election, girl. What you think? Girl, Dave, my friend, me say me see it, I me no like it, me love it. Cause all my sister Sandra and over when I pitney them I get up on them bus here for go to school every day. That them call ride. All one meal a day time. That them call ease. Girl, but you sound like how you write it, man. Me dear. So what you like it, ain't? Well, me tell you what me like. You see, like how me do whole heap of overtime at work, the PMP said no tax. And that me want here. Girl, more money in your pocket. That sound like time come. Long time, I don't know 1 p.m. I go me love. Past him lunchtime.
Hear me saying it again. Time come. Be a better Jamaica. Time come. Secure your future.
The proceeding was paid for by the People's National Party.
Welcome back. This is Family Time, and you're tuned to Love 101 FM. Our special guests today are Dr. Jeremiah Augustus and Dr. Natoya Langley, and we are talking about the truths about immunization. Now, our question for today is, are you fully immunized? Why or why not? And let me share my response. I am fully immunized, Doc. And why? Because my parents said so. I think that's where it started. And I think it's been a while, but I am fully immunized. Now, picking up before we went for the break, thank you so much for that response to our listener. And what I got was, Doc, you are saying that animals are still being tested, and they remain the primary test subject. And once it's determined that it's safe for humans, it's at that time that we become the secondary test subjects and we start getting tested for vaccines. Do I have that right?
Correct.
All right. So, Dr. Natoya, this one goes to you. Dr. Jeremiah mentioned young women. I'm wondering if I qualify. I don't know, Doc. Young women, does that apply to 40s and 50s or younger?
Yeah.
No. All right. So, young women, though, they need to be vaccinated. He mentioned, I think it was the HPV vaccine. I want you, Dr. Natoya, to explain to me, how is it that vaccines like these help persons, and not only the individual that's being vaccinated, but also perhaps their partner, and by extension, their families, communities, and neighbors?
Okay, so when a person or the more persons are vaccinated, what is produced is called herd immunity, right? And what happens is that when you're vaccinated, you're less likely to get sick and spread the germ. So people who can't get vaccinated, like the vulnerable people, like babies, elderly, people with weakened immune system for whatever reason can't get vaccinated, because you, their loved ones, and the community is vaccinated. It produces what is called community protection, or what we call herd immunity. When enough people are vaccinated, what it does, it creates a safety shield for everybody, protecting those around you.
Okay, thank you. That being said, I guess it goes back to what the point that Dr. Jeremiah started with, that there's a vaccine for everyone. So it's not just babies, as I initially asked, it's babies, children, young adults, middle-aged adults, elders. That being the foundation. Dr. Jeremiah, can you give us perhaps a guide for us to stay on track of who needs what? So, what are some of the more important vaccines for children, perhaps in their early years of life, and what disease are we protecting them from for those
Okay.
vaccinations?
So I'm as a as I have rotated through pediatrics and neonatology as well. I have to mention, even this is not a vaccine. A lot of persons do refuse this, which is vitamin K when the baby has just born, when the baby is just born, and it's something that we normally I would caution very closely because it could cause severe intracranial bleeding in babies. So even if it's not a vaccine, they normally do administer vitamin K to help with ensure that the baby clots well. But apart from that, baby also receive BCG. Everybody would see that on the written card. They get that once and then they move on. And then we have our things like our diphtheria, pertussis that we normally get several times along with our measles, mumps, and rubella. We get our tetanus. Well, the tetanus would be in our in our DPT. We're thinking of polio. Although polio is no longer around as much, or I could really think about is only about two countries that probably reported cases of polio. We still need to ensure that we are still getting our vaccines against polio, because polio was one of those nightmares, I would call it. Our varicella, our chicken pox. I know some countries doesn't stipulate or are strict with it, but our rotavirus or hepatitis as well, or you'll get that several times, and our Hib, right? So those are those are some of the ones that I could that we normally ensure that the patients or the babies have and continue to get their booster shot as time go by.
Thank you, Doc. All right, so Dr. Natoya, Dr. Jeremiah listed all these vaccination and spoke to the disease that they are protecting us from. Now, he spoke specifically to the vaccinations that babies and children need. What happens if a child, let's say, misses these vaccine? Can they simply just catch up later on in life?
Yes.
And is that safe to do?
Yes, children can catch up on missed vaccines. They would have to follow maybe a special catch-up, schedule. For example, their health center, their provider can follow that schedule to make sure that they get protected as soon as possible. It is safe to do this, and the vaccine works just as well when given later. So yes, they can catch, but it's prudent. It's very important if we're talking about a healthy nation that they do catch up. The important thing is not to skip them altogether, right? Things that leave our kids unprotected, pretty much.
All right, thank you. All right, so Dr. Jeremiah, we said it before, it's back to school. Parents are pulling out those long put away vaccination cards. They're checking immunization records. I'm going to ask you to take 2 minutes and speak to our parents who may be feeling nervous, uncertain, have doubts based on what they're hearing in the news, etc. And just give them a quick advice as it relates to the importance of getting their children vaccinated, especially coming from this long break.
Right. I I do I know that there's a lot of speculation in circulating, especially now about a lot of different vaccines, and even as I said, I've worked with parents who don't even want to take the vitamin K injection to prevent intracranial hemorrhage in their babies, right? And mothers have a very wonderful bond, and this is what I would say is that sometimes hearing all of these information, sometimes it's best to go to a trusted source and to sit with a doctor, a friend, or somebody in the healthcare field who could literally sit down and go break it down step by step as to say, hey, this is how they work. I would advise also that because of the increase in speculation and the increase hesitancy in vaccination, a lot of persons also don't want to get vaccine. And if, for example, there's a breakout of some disease that we forgot, like polio, or we thinking yellow fever, especially for those who like to travel. Travel is a big culture now, and as the South American travel route increases, they still report cases of yellow fever. And then the yellow fever, the reason why I call it yellow fever is because it has some implications with the liver when it goes to the toxic phase. So, you don't want your child getting sick like that and then coming home, spreading that to your family, and then before you know it, right? So that would be very important, especially going back into space with so many different kids, so many different persons of so many different beliefs. The best way to protect that kid is to be up to date with your vaccine, ensure that they are well protected as best as they can, and also to be informed and look out for signs and look out to what next they could do, or what is the next vaccine schedule or regime that they should be taking. I would say that it's okay to be scared. It is okay to have questions, but what do we do after that is the most important
That's
part,
what
which is,
matters
you
most.
know, right? Is to go ahead and to make very informed, educated decisions about this. Because again, your one mistake could be the cost of a life. Right?
Ah, thank you so much, Doc. On that point, we're going to head to our break. Listeners, we have brought the reputable source to you. We know there's a lot of misinformation, so thanks to our guests, now you have the answer to those questions. This is Family Time, and you are listening to Love 101 FM. We are on YouTube and we are also on Facebook. Now, Family Time is produced by the Family Life Ministries. For our social media interaction today, we want you to answer the question: are you fully immunized? And if so, why or why not? Why? Let us know. We want you to send your responses via WhatsApp text or voice note. You can send to 876-997-3125. And remember to keep those 30 seconds or less. You can also give us a call on our studio lines 876-968-8327 or 8328. Stay with us. We'll be back after this break.
I'm Itana, and human trafficking is everybody's business. Call 1-888-PROTECT to report suspected cases of child trafficking.
The time by the Ministry of National Security is
a minute past 6 o'clock.
Remix the summer with Digicel. 100 lucky winners win $100,000 each, plus surprises all summer. To enter, buy a SIM 7-day plan or higher. Switch to Digicel. Be an active postpaid or Digicel Plus customer, or receive US $15 or more from abroad. Gift a friend a plan. They could win $25,000. Remix the summer with Digicel. Authorized under Section 58 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Promo ends September 15, 2025. Conditions apply. Visit DigicelJamaica.com for more info. Digicel, better connected this summer.
The following is a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
So we say vote for Labour. To Jamaica.
The proceeding was a paid announcement by the Jamaica Labour Party.
Nothing beats the Love 101 September Bonanza. That's 15% off any advertising package. That's more savings, more spots, and more reach for your business. But don't wait. This offer ends September 30. Call us now at 876-968-9596 or email sales&marketing@love101.org. Let's grow together. Conditions apply.
Welcome back. It is now 6:02 p.m. and you are tuned to Love 101. This is Family Time, brought to you by the Family Life Ministries. Now, Family Life Ministries provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life, and it is available for you. So tell a friend, a neighbor, everyone. Family Life Ministries, it's here. Now, today we want to welcome back our special guest for today, Dr. Jeremiah Augustus, and also Dr. Natoya Langley. Now, Dr. Jeremiah is the Senior House Officer at the University Hospital of the West Indies in cardiothoracic surgery and infection prevention control. And Dr. Natoya is the Director of Staff Development and Training at Western State Hospital in the United States. Welcome back, Doc. Okay.
Thanks.
Now, Doc, do I say Doc or Docs? I've never been in the presence of more than, I don't think I've been in the presence of more than one doctor, but all right, Dr. Jeremiah and Dr. Natoya. You said it before we went to the break. There are numerous rumors. We have fake news. There are so many beliefs as it relates to vaccination that is now causing fear or delay in persons getting vaccinated. So I want us to take some time to really talk about what's true and what's not. So I have to say we know that the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and different changes within the political atmosphere, it has ushered various opinions as it relates to vaccinations. Some of those seem conflicting to each other, and some are different than what we have been told in the past. As it relates to the popular one that I've heard, where babies are getting diagnosed as on the spectrum some way, either ADD, ADHD, autistic,
Autism.
autism, yes. That's a popular one I've heard, and I know many of our listeners want to get to the facts. Are
Right.
vaccinations causing these in babies and children?
Let me approach this. This is something that comes up very often for me in mixed with what I say. And I will say this, that a lot of persons who are associating the MMR vaccine with autism. So it caused a widespread in the scientific community. It has a widespread panic, but not panic, but we as doctors and scientists, we become very curious to figure out, is this the case? And we did a lot of research, and what we have found is that there are genes actually linked to autism. There are genes linked to autism, and we have done studies with the MMR vaccine and and autism. And what we did find is that the children who develop autism had that gene from in utero, meaning that that gene developed in the development phase and not necessarily at the induction of the MMR vaccine. And this is something that I say a lot of times, even as I am a doctor and practicing, not because something correlates, mean it is causing it. So correlation does not always equal causation. And there's no scientific evidence to support that MMR vaccine causes autism. In fact, we have been sequencing more and more genes from in utero to show that these babies are going to be either autistic or on that spectrum, and not necessarily because of the vaccine. And this came about because some persons had their own preconceived notions back then. And I would love to know why false information spread so fast and so easy, and now it's very hard for us to debunk that. And if you understand how bad or terrible mumps, measles, and rubella was, you would it really puts a strain on the community, the healthcare community, and even going forward in other different vaccines. It really poses a public health situation that if we don't get it under control, just for example, in the HPV vaccines, for example, we are going to have persons who are 30, which I have seen many, many, many times with end-stage cervical cancer, who are going to be, who are going to be, who are going to die, in want of a better word, because of that, right? So there are so speculations, and those false information do harm us a lot, and there's no scientific evidence to support those stuff. And again, with the autism, we have seen those genes from in utero. It didn't start at the inception of the vaccine. All right.
Thank you, Doc. You certainly cleared that one up for me. When I heard you would be today's guest, that's one of the questions I have, and I know many persons. It's popular. It's
It
there. It's
is.
on social media, so I know many of our listeners want to have that or wanted to have that question answered. Now, Dr. Natoya, provided we know the well, social media is there. We have the misinformation, the fake news. What do you say to someone who is now saying, look, I did not get vaccinated and I turned out just fine? How do you then communicate to them the importance that they should still participate in vaccine, or if not for themselves, perhaps for their children, their the elderly, for their community to stay protected?
All right, thank you for that question. Uh, so it is important for the whole family or community or nation to be vaccinated. And if you decide that, hey, I didn't take it and get unhealthy, think about the babies who are too young for some vaccines. So they depend on us, the protection of their family, their friends. Think about the elderly or the older adults who have weakened immune system. It makes them even more vulnerable. So if we produce what is called that herd immunity, where we take that vaccine, we then will produce healthier homes, healthier communities, and a healthier nation. What that does, it reduces the chance of bringing the germs home into your community, into the schools, into our workplaces.
Yeah, as you said that younger children who are not able to be vaccinated. I just recalled, I think when I had my first child, I think maybe my baby was just a week or two. And I can tell you, my husband went and got the chicken pox.
Yeah.
I know I make it sound like it's something he picked up, and I was so upset. I said, everybody I know gets chicken pox when they are young. How do you then, in your old age, after we have had our first child, come home with the chicken pox? I remember going to the doctor, and the doctor explained just that the child is too young to get the vaccine. I think I would have been vaccinated, and then they explained something about breastfeed and having the antibodies produced through that. So it's very important.
Mhm.
It's a way of protecting the younger ones once we are vaccinated. So, Dr. Jeremiah, that being said, my next question to you is, um, we spoke about the community and the importance of the community. So explain to me, what is herd immunity and why is it dangerous if too many people decide not to take a vaccine?
Great question, actually. So herd immunity is like a shield, right? So they're on two very end of the spectrum. There's the very young who cannot be protected, and there's the very old who needs to be protected, right? In between that two extremes are the persons at the forefront who runs around, who go between the young and the old, who goes to work, who has that, who are what I call the vectors. They will be able to move. What herd immunity is giving or vaccinated or giving that mobile set of people protection against a particular disease enough so that the virus cannot jump between them. So you have to reach that point where there's enough persons vaccinated that even if somebody got a weakened form, it's not going to jump to somebody else. So what that happens is that when you go home, because you are protected, you would not be able to now bring that virus home to the either the very young, in your case when you had the chicken pox, or the very old, or if you have a grandmother or grandfather. And that is what herd immunity really does, is vaccinating us a certain amount of the population, especially the ones who are more mobile, enough so that so the virus cannot jump within the population, and then could be as a vector taking them home. So it's like a shield, and you as a shield, as the younger ones who are more mobile, who are at the forefront, protect those who are less fortunate in the back, like the young babies or the older population, really and truly. Not saying that they may not be able to be vaccinated too,
Yeah.
but we want those at the forefront so that they can spread virus between each of them. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Doc. Now, I'm just thinking based on your response,
So
would that apply to essential care workers such as medical teams? If
Definitely. That's why we target those first, because those would be the biggest vectors. Imagine some patient zero came from Peru, for example, with yellow fever, and they are not vaccinated. They can now go home in the afternoon and take that yellow fever home. Versus if they were vaccinated against yellow fever, it stops there. It doesn't translate to your older your grandmother or your baby at
Yeah.
home. So you are that shield. You are that one of those persons in that herd, protecting the bigger herd behind. All right.
That's good to know, because even within the medical space, there are so many other patients that may not be immunized.
Exactly.
Doctors, medical care workers, they go in between patients, and already once persons are at the hospital, they are
Right.
already compromised in
Indeed.
some way or the other. All right, it's good to know. Listeners, I know you are learning as much as I am today. And so, guess what? I'm sad to say we are heading into our final break. This is Family Time, and we are live on Love 101 Facebook, and YouTube. Family Time is produced by the Family Life Ministries, and our feedback question for today is: are you fully immunized? Why or why not? Send your answers via WhatsApp, text, or voice notes. Remember to keep them 30 seconds or less. And you can send to 876-997-3125. We also want you to share. So give us a call on our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 8. I believe I lost internet, some connectivity issues, but if you are hearing, we are heading into our final break and we still
Is
want
paid for by the People's National Party.
Yeah, every month my parent and still no one nothing, bro.
Eh, so I'm ready the PNP plan, you know.
Oh, the plan to remove the land cost from the low income house them?
Yeah, man, the same plan them G. House price a drop, both are ground.
Yo, I mean, many cheap at the seniors, you know.
Oh, yeah, so general, 50,000 new low income houses in the first term.
But my work informal, bro. I don't feel that you work for me.
General, them set the plan just for you. But they are taxi driver or barber like yourself. 6 months rent to qualify you for your mortgage.
Eh?
Yeah,
Yo,
man.
that big.
Yeah, man. Plus, young people are trying to get a house for the first time. First time, own owners, 45 and under. I will get 500,000 a grant towards the housing deposit. How much you can use that to walk in a house?
45. That means you own no house now.
What on there? Brown man, how much? True that.
The proceeding was paid for by the People's National Party.
You know what, sweet? The new pack sweet living promotion. Win great prizes. Living room set, or bedroom set, or kitchen appliance set. Plus 2 consolation prizes of AC units. Send in 5 new pack labels or receipts. Labels must belong to at least the new pack canned beans or peas, new pack ketchup, and new pack oil categories. Fill out the tagline. New pack, more than just value. Place your entry in one of the drop boxes at participating outlets. Enter by mail or online at newpackjamaica.com. Time for Live Sweet. Enter the new pack sweet living promotion. July 13th to September 6th. See the press for more details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back. Welcome back. It is family time and you are on Love 101. I must apologize. I know there was a technical difficulty just now, but guess what? I want to ask, are you aware that Family Life Ministries have books available that you can get today for yourself or for a friend? The first book is Answers to Questions Parents Ask, and the second book is Questions of Love, Sex, and Marriage. You can purchase these books from Bryan Bookstore or the Jamaica Baptist Union Bookstore or Source of Light Bookstore. There is also a third book, Before They Say I Do. This is the questionnaire and manual. And this one is specifically for counselors, psychologists, pastors, and marriage officers. And they are also available on Amazon. Now, all 3 books are also available through Family Life Ministries. So give FLM a call today at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. You are still tuned to Family Time, and our topic for today is the truth about immunization. Welcome again, our special guest today, Dr. Jeremiah and Dr. Natoya. Now, Doc, we are wrapping up our session for today. I know from all that you've said today, I've learned that vaccination doesn't end in childhood. No, there is something for everyone, whether you're older, whether you're a young adult, middle age. There, it is also important for you to be vaccinated. So, on that note, I want us to go deeper into the conversation about what adults need to know to stay safe and to protect themselves and their families. So, my question to you, Dr. Natoya, are there vaccines right now that older people should be taking, should be talking to their doctors about, whether it has to do with perhaps they're going to travel, or if they have underlying health issues. Similar to, I know, Doc, you addressed that question for children, but Dr. Natoya, for or older persons or elders, what are those vaccines we should be asking our doctors about, or based on our health status?
Thank you, Tamika. So, of course, adults need vaccine because immunity fades. Sometimes there are new risks, they're changing lifestyle. So, for example, the flu vaccine. So, every year it is recommended that we take the flu vaccine. I know that some persons are averse to it, but we do recommend that we take that flu vaccine. How about the COVID-19 vaccine? And of course, stay current with whatever recommended doses. Then we mentioned the Tdap earlier. So we have the Tdap booster, and that I believe is you get every 10 years. Shingles, like for people over 50 years, right? So you wouldn't find that in children necessarily, but in older adults. Then we have the pneumococcal vaccines for adults over 50. We have the HPV vaccine, like Doc mentioned earlier, for teens and young adults up to age 26, beyond sometimes. And catch-up vaccines like your MMR, your varicella, or your Hep B, if you didn't receive that in childhood. Those are important that we do catch up on those vaccines.
All right, thank you so much, listeners. I hope you are taking note. Now, Dr. Jeremiah, I can't even remember all that Dr. Natoya said. So now I'm going to ask, for those who are actually getting these shots, how important is it for them to keep up with their vaccination history? Perhaps to recall what they got and when they got it, if they got it as a child. How important is it for us to do that? And is there a system in place that keeps standard record of vaccination, or where we can retrieve them?
Oh, it's frozen.
I think Dr. Jeremiah is having connectivity issues. Dr. Natoya, did you hear my question?
I did hear your question. I don't know if I have the answers, but I'll try.
All right.
So we do recommend that you keep a record of your vaccines just like you would for your children. Talk with your family. They probably have an idea. If you don't remember, go to your health centers, right? They probably should have a record of, I'm not sure how it is kept now. Dr. Jeremiah, are you back? No, I'm not sure how they keep it, but they should have a record of your vaccination.
All right.
Go back to your trusted healthcare provider, your health centers, and talk to them and go through that record to see what it is you have, what it is that you have missed. And if you have missed any, we catch up post haste.
All right. Thank you so much. Dr. Jeremiah, are you there? Can you hear us?
I am here. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah.
Not a problem, Doc. We know technical glitches happen. Doc, so Dr. Natoya, thank you so much. She answered, and I wanted to confirm for the record keeping of all that you and Dr. Natoya have shared. What would be our source if we want to try to get health records? Perhaps we've misplaced, lost. Is there a central source that we can refer our listeners to?
Ideally, the health center that it was first, the records would be at. That's where they normally go. I'm not quite sure exactly how Jamaica does it, but I know that's what they would normally refer to you to go back to the health center where those were given normally.
All right, Doc. So, thank you, Dr. Jeremiah. Dr. Natoya, you were on point. Now, we are in Jamaica, and of course, we're part of the Caribbean. Are there new or updated vaccines that we should be focusing based on our geographic location? Perhaps if we are predisposed based on our region location, are there vaccines we should be focusing on? And I will add to that, is COVID still around, and do we still need to get vaccinated for that as well?
So I would just jump in here and say, as again, what we have been seeing, or from the medical perspective, is that a lot of persons are now into travel culture.
Right.
So we need to stay up to our yellow fever in particular, because Some persons are not going to the US, where the US have a very strict vaccination policy, but they would go like to South America, where we still have cases of yellow fever and malaria and those kind of stuff looming around. So it's good sometimes to be up to date with our yellow fever or even have our international yellow fever cards. Also, even if you're not going to the States, or even if you're not going to South America and you're going to the States, there's a community now as well of persons, anti-vaxxers, who do not believe in taking vaccines. And if you happen to be unfortunate to run into one of those who probably have mumps, rubella, measles, polio, and you are not protected against that, you would not like the end of what would happen, and then you would bring it back. But a lot of persons here are actually vaccinated against such. And the last one I would like to point out is our HPV. I'm saying this over because I've seen a lot of conversations on the internet that persons are not so fond rather of the HPV vaccine. But on my end, what I see is something that we could easily prevent, especially our young black women at the age of 20. And remember, boys could get HPV vaccine as well, because they also could transmit that HPV virus, right? So those in our particular setting, that's what I would actually look for. I will try to ensure that I have. And then our pneumococcal sometimes for our elderly. And then even COVID-19, even though COVID-19 rates are down and they are not as rampant, what I would say is for persons who are immunocompromised, persons who have certain cancers, persons who are particular age, I would still not take the risk of not being up to date with my COVID-19 vaccine, because we still do see now and again where COVID do, put its nasty head in and take a loved one from us, especially those who are not as strong as we are. All right.
All right. Thank you, Doc. We have one of our listeners, Jacqueline from Brian Peace in Clarendon. Jacqueline shares that I wasn't fully immunized as an infant at the infant age, but in the late 70s, the Ministry of Health came to school and gave vaccines to us. Jacqueline also says my children are fully immunized. So Jackie, thank you so much for sharing. That
That's nice to hear.
is yeah, that's good to know. And also, it goes to the point where Dr. Natoya mentioned, if you would have missed vaccinations from infancy, it's always good to catch up, as Jacqueline did when the Ministry of Health came to her school. Now, quickly, parting words. I'm going to give you each a minute, and I'm going to say, what advice do you give to someone who wants to protect their family, but they may still be unsure about vaccination? Dr. Jeremiah, over to you.
So the first thing I would say, vaccines are safe. I would say that, right? Although there would be some persons who are allergic to some of the ingredients sometimes, vaccines are predominantly safe, and it's done with thousands. In fact, one of the autism trials had 625 children in that, to ensure that we were not just putting anything out there. All right. The second thing I would say is that vaccines are not just for kids, right? Our teenagers, I have seen in my lifetime about 4 women at the age of the age 30 to 35 who have passed from cervical cancer, and they could have easily been my sisters, and it breaks me every time I think about it. And if you're unsure, that's not a problem. Talk with a nurse, talk with a doctor. It's okay to have doubts, but what we do after is what is most
That's what
important.
really
And
matters.
that's what really matters. And
Yeah.
with that, I would say protect yourself and be blessed always.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeremiah. Dr. Natoya,
Thank
quickly.
you. I would say start by having an open, that non-judgment free conversation with a trusted healthcare provider, right? Talk to your provider, talk to your nurse,
I
right?
agree.
And choosing vaccine isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about protecting your children, your parents, your neighbor, your friends, your nation. And be blessed.
Um,
Yep.
all right. I receive those blessings. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeremiah Augustus. And thank you, Dr.
You're most
Natoya
welcome.
Langley.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. All right. So we thank our special guests for being here with us. Now, if you have questions of a personal nature or you are concerned about a family, you're concerned about a friend. For more information on the services of the Family Life Ministry, the counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island are available. So contact the head office at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Now, please note that appointments and information cost. For that, you must call the offices. Otherwise, to keep up with all that's happening with Family Life Ministries and all the other programs, check out our new Facebook page at FLM-Family Life Ministries or the YouTube channel at Family Life Ministries FLMJA, and of course on Instagram. Keep up with all that's happening at simply FLMJA. Now, before we leave you today, here is our verse for this evening. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22. A cheerful heart does good like a medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. A cheerful heart does good like a medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bone. Join us again next week for another informative program. And thanks again to our special guests, Dr. Jeremiah Augustus and Dr. Natoya Langley. Thanks also to our show producer, Kathy Gale, and Rashid Perry for research and our research assistant. Also, Derval Graham for piloting us through this hour. And of course, you, our valid listeners, have an amazing week. I was your host for today, Tamika Scott Walters. Walk good.
You're tuned to Family Radio Broadcasting from Kingston, Jamaica. We're Love 101 FM. And the time is now 6:31. It's time for